Boss fights are an integral part of any action game, and the very best of these fights can be the most memorable and fun parts of the game, which test the player's skills against an equally capable opponent. Then, there are those boss fights where the player doesn't actually defeat the boss, rather they meet their demise at their own hands, either intentionally or unintentionally. To that effect, here are 10 more bosses that beat themselves. Please note that we also have part 1 of this feature, so do check that out as well. With that out of the way, let's begin. Demon of Hatred, SEKIRO Shadows Die Twice. The Demon of Hatred is easily one of the most difficult boss fights in From Software's 2019 game, although fans wishing to be a bit creative with their approach will be able to dispatch the boss such that it falls to its own death. As soon as players enter the boss arena, they'll first have to clamber up to the very top of a watchtower and then make a double jump to an otherwise inaccessible rooftop. Once there, you have to position yourself at the very edge of an adjacent rooftop, which will lure the boss enemy to the very edge of the arena. The boss AI will then glitch out, and once the Demon of Hatred will perform its charge move, it'll fall down to its own death. Rhino, Spider-Man, PS1. Rhino has been one of Spider-Man's longest-standing villains, and our friendly neighborhood hero has always used his wits against the enemy's super strength. This is no different in Spider-Man on the PS1, where the boss fight takes place inside an electrical plant. You need to position yourself right next to the electric units, so when Rhino charges towards you, he smashes his head into these units. Rinse and repeat the process multiple times, and Rhino will go down without you even laying a hand on him. Fun fact, the boss fight against Rhino in Spider-Man Miles Morales also goes down in much the same way. Crush, Spyro the Dragon. Spyro the Dragon 2's fight against Crush is yet another boss where the enemy defeats itself. You see, Crush is a giant enemy who uses 2 different types of attacks, a projectile throwing move and a shockwave. Spyro will need to dodge these attacks and find openings in between his attacks to spew fire on his body, following which he will counterattack your moves, which will cause rocks from the ceiling to fall down, hurting Crush in the process. Once this process is repeated several times, Crush will ultimately go down. GLADOS, Portal. Portal is easily one of the more minimal yet engaging bosses in gaming, and over the course of this adventure, players uncover the real motivations behind the GLADOS AI, and the game ends with a final showdown with the real enemy. Players will have to use all the tools and techniques learned over the course of the game to attack GLADOS's cores, by redirecting its attacks to itself, which will then end with her finally going down.
You're not smart, you're not a scientist, you're not a doctor, you're not even a full-time employee.
The End. Metal Gear Solid 3. Metal Gear Solid 3's The End is one of the most memorable boss fights in Kojima's premier stealth adventure series, and a lot of its appeal can be attributed to the flexibility offered in how to defeat him. Players can either take a traditional route, seeking him out across multiple zones, or one could even take the old sniper down before the battle even begins. The most interesting way to dispatch him, however, is letting him die of his old age. If players save the game amidst the battle, and then wait for over a week, or fast forward the console clock accordingly, the End will actually die of old age, granting you an easy victory. JINROKU, Ghost of Tsushima.
I challenge you to a duel!
You want to fight me?
Yes, it's the only way.
If that's your wish, I accept.
Ghost of Tsushima's JINROKU boss fight starts like most other duels in the game, although it ends in the most unlikely way possible. Just after the boss fight starts against the backdrop of the Izahura region, Jingoku gives up on fighting Jin and runs away. As it turns out, JINROKU wasn't actually a samurai. He acquired the robes of Lord Higuchi after his demise and used them to roleplay as a samurai so as to earn respect from nearby villages. It's unlike any other boss fight in the game, and serves to provide levity to the otherwise mostly serious story. Taurus Demon, Dark Souls. The Taurus Demon is one of the first bosses in Dark Souls, and is a great fight to ease players into the game's world without being a complete cakewalk. It takes place on a narrow walkway at the top of the tower, and as such, players will have to be mindful of the surrounding space to make it out of the fight alive. However, by luring the Taurus Demon towards the broken boundary of the bridge, players can actually make it fall to its own death. Just stay there and keep dodging his attacks until he charges you. Then roll out of harm's way to see the boss hilariously fall down to its own death. DRAGONRIDER, Dark Souls 2. Much like Taurus Demon before, the DRAGONRIDER boss fight in Hyde's Tower of Flame is a comparatively easy fight meant to ease players into the game's brutal mechanics. Taking place in an open circular arena surrounded by perilous waters, players are constantly facing the threat of falling down into the water. However, if players continue to stick bravely to the sides of the arena, it's rather easy to see the DRAGONRIDER falling to his own death. However, unlike Taurus Demon before, defeating DRAGONRIDER this way is arguably easier than the intended way. Peace Walker, Metal Gear Peace Walker. Given that Peace Walker is present in the very name of the game, it would seem that the fight against Metal Gear would be a rather intense and climactic battle. And indeed it was, but even after Snake hitting the mech with missiles and whatnot, the Metal Gear simply won't give up. Once enough damage has been dealt to the Metal Gear, an emotional cutscene will kick in, which will lead to Peace Walker sacrificing itself by drowning in water. This Metal Gear certainly lived up to its name. Hollow Knight Boss, Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight is chock full of amazing boss fights that will challenge even the veterans of video games. The Hollow Knight boss is the game's final fight, so it would make sense that this would be the game's hardest. While that's true for the most part, it ends in an anticlimactic fashion. Once you have dealt enough damage to the boss, he'll actually stab himself and die shortly after. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on GamingBolt.